Hi, this is Matt Donegan. I'm here from Business Spotlight. I'm here with Phill. Phill, can you tell me a little bit about you? Tell me what you are, who in the business, what you do, and tell me something about your business, please.
I'm Phill Davies. I'm one of the co-founders of Magway, commercial director. So I'm the non-engineer on the team. It's my responsibility to bring Magway to market. So our go-to-market strategy and fundraising. And we have a phenomenal engineering team behind Magway. What we're doing at Magway is bringing science fiction to reality, and the concept of moving goods through pipe networks has been seen in the likes of the Jetsons and James Bond and Mission Impossible, and numerous other science fiction topics for the last 150 years. We are using electromagnetic propulsion to move goods. So imagine an intelligent electromagnetic conveyor belt without the need of a belt, modular in design, and you can extend it and use it over shorter and longer distances. So it's a scalable solution. We use less than 80% of the energy to move the same mass of goods, to effectively replace conveyor belts, industrial conveyor belts, and trucks, initially in industrial settings.
That is a hugely ambitious task that you're looking to undertake. Where are you at the moment with your goals, with the product development, and with getting it into market?
Yeah, we're not short of ambition. We're often described as a Silicon Valley company based out of Northwest Wembley. We are, possibly the gutsiest proposition in Europe. We've been going for over 6 years now. We've got extensive intellectual property and patents within the business around the electromagnetic propulsion and control of the system. So we've got the various different elements operating within Magway's test facility. And the next step and the next inflection point for the business is to take all of those elements out of the lab and install it in a live operating environment.
Wow. Who would you be doing this with? Is it sorry, not specifically an entity, but is this government? Is this are these large companies? Are these multinationals? Who's most interested in your product?
Yeah, so to get to Magway, to get to this stage that we're at now, we've received funding from Innovate UK. We did an Innovate UK project with a number of parties, including Ocado. We've taken just over £6.5 million in equity funding, largely from high net worth angels and crowdfunding. We actually just completed our latest crowdfund campaign on Crowdcube. And having started out at urban logistics, and thinking about the challenges of online retail, both outward goods and return goods, we've kind of focused the opportunity for the initial system around the movement of bulk materials on private client sites.
Right.
And that's primarily within mining, construction, and port environments. And the thinking behind that is it addresses the biggest challenge of the urban logistics in terms of rights of way and access, because those organizations are all recognized as hard to decarbonize industries, and they're key to a green transition. So in order to achieve a green transition, you have to move 3 gigatons of material every year and generating 3 billion tons of CO2 for every mile that's moved. And we can do it entirely using renewables. And the initial system, just to frame it, we're talking about maybe £3.5 million for that initial system. So not tens of millions
No.
and not billions. And with that initial system installed and operating and delivering operational benefits within a live environment, we
Right.
can de-risk that technology, Magway's technology, for partners and for investors.
So what you're doing is completely game changing. And often when I speak to businesses, we'll look at market sector and say who are your competitors, How much demand is there in the market? Where do you see your growth coming from? Do you have any competitors in the marketplace? Is anybody else looking to do this?
Interestingly, there are, and we welcome competition. We're creating an ecosystem. We don't want to be the only lunatics out there doing this. So there's some really interesting companies, some really smart technology coming into to address this challenge. And we think the future is underground. We think that this is the biggest revolution to supply chains since the container, the introduction of the container. We think the future will involve moving goods in a different way, in a more efficient, more controlled way, and sustainable way, whereby we're able to harness masses of data to make sure that the number of movements and the way those goods are moved is much more sustainable and efficient.
Yeah. It seems like the business, when it starts to grow, has the potential to leap boundaries. To once there's some adoption, it's very likely that those early adopters will move faster, will provide impetus in the marketplace. Where are you in that? We've had previous conversation about the chasm, the crossing the chasm. Are you at the edge of the chasm now, ready to leap over into the world of mass market adoption, or where do you think you are?
I think we are literally in the process. We're crossing that chasm that every product company before and after has to pass through to actually prove that technology, from Tesla to Apple to Compaq to Atari, you name it. And there's lots of great companies, or great technology that we've never heard of that didn't make it over to the other side. So we know from the meetings and relationships we've had that if we're able to prove Magway in a live environment, that the appetite is there for our solution. We've had meetings with some massive companies who say, give us a Magway and we'll use it. They recognize the benefits, but they're not necessarily willing to underwrite that investment, even at a £3.5–5 million level. We have been generating revenue from design and engineering work since 2021. We've got, we've only for a couple of clients, but within those customers, and there are sizable projects for us to deliver. And actually, there are a number of other clients that we're engaged with, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue and project revenue, which will come our way once we're able to de-risk the technology. Because the current situation, when we talk about competition, the biggest competition is the incumbent, is the status quo. Yeah. Because even though those solutions are far from perfect, the customers know what they're getting. They're going to spend £5–10 million on a conveyor belt. Conveyor belt will deliver, get the goods from here to there, and it will break down, however many percent, how many days a month. The maintenance cost will be X, but they know what they're getting. Whereas with Magway, we can show them it in a test environment, but there's still the questions about what happens when it rains, when it snows, when it's 40 degrees temperature, when there's a sandstorm, etc., etc. So we need to show them that.
So it's providing comfort, de-risking your product, as well as showing the advantages of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you envisage this clearly as an international product. Are there any markets that you're particularly focused on? I mean, you're based in the UK, which is fantastic. What are your core markets in terms of targeting at the moment?
Yeah, we're very proud of our UK heritage. We have registered patents in Japan, and the Middle East is particularly of interest to us. And that's just looking at the ambition out there, the appetite for new technologies, for world first, um, and the amount of capital that's being invested in that space. So we were invited by the UK government to exhibit on the UK pavilion at COP28. So we had a small demonstrator out there. There is interest in pipe delivery in the region. So that was really exciting for us. So all of our focus is just getting that first system installed.
Yeah.
So it will either be in the UK or the Middle East in all likelihood.
Okay. What do you see as your biggest challenge? I mean, we've talked about crossing the chasm, um, heading towards mass market adoption. What's your biggest challenge in the business? Is it generating income? Is it the focusing your time and attention on the right things? Is it having the team around you that's going to deliver the sales and the product and the expansion that you're envisaging? Which of those is the tension?
I think I suppose it's for most startups is people and funds. So we need to make sure that we don't run out of cash before we get that system installed to de-risk that our technology to unlock the project pipeline, which will release the more funds to fuel the growth. So we're not at that step. So the investment now is to basically move the tech forward and put it in a live environment. The next step of the funding round will be to sort of build that commercial team and sell the living daylights out of it. But we're a step away from that.
And that's the sales strategy, is it, to sell the living daylights out of it?
We know from the conversations, the meetings, the people that have been through our facility, and seen Magway. It doesn't take a great leap of faith to think if you can move your goods from a location to another location, at 80%, using less than 80% of the energy and masses more efficiency and uptime, that you're going to adopt that. And if you don't adopt it, you're going to be at a competitive disadvantage to other people that are using it.
Yeah, I really see that. But Phill, what made you start the business? What was your big motivator for doing this?
The motivator really was the impact that we could have. I've got 3 young kids. We've been just taking from the planet for my entire lifetime without consciously knowing it. And I have genuine concerns for future generations. We've got a responsibility to act now. And if we don't act now, I'm an optimist. So I'm an optimist. I think we've got a chance, to make a difference. We've almost repaired the hole in the ozone layer. So you can see, that through human ingenuity, we can make a difference. We can make an impact. And I'm hopeful that we're just a small part of the equation. But it's a movement. It's a movement. And when we talk about sort of green investing and green logistics and sustainable logistics, ultimately everything should be sustainable. Everything should be green. And it's just part of the ecosystem and part of the infrastructure. And that we need resilient, sustainable supply chains. And because without them, the future doesn't look so rosy.
No, I agree. I speak to a lot of businesses that are either in sustainability or green or renewable energy. It's a passion point for me anyway. And I think it's an interesting thing that you just said about you're optimistic. I think that do you think that to be an entrepreneur in the first place, you have to have a degree of optimism?
Yeah, a bit of optimism, a bit of insanity. If you're not optimistic, yeah, absolutely. If you there's a common thread because the journey, yeah, people look at entrepreneurs, they look at successful businesses, they don't see all of the pain points and all of the sacrifices that people have along the way. And I think that it's interesting. I mean, the UK's got a really and London and there's pockets in Manchester and Brighton and where you've got to be part of that ecosystem to share the journey. And we're at Magway, we're kind of really focused. Yeah, it's important for us to celebrate the little wins because there are underneath the surface, you're paddling at 1,000 miles an hour to just keep it all under control and smooth sailing. But it's an absolute roller coaster, without a doubt.
That's ironic. You call it a roller coaster, considering what the product is.
Absolutely, there are linear motors in roller coasters that have been. We actually offer reference for roller coasters because it's a very poor spare parts business. Linear motors have been driving those thrill rides for many years, very reliably.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good that you mentioned that because I like that kind of that segue into the reliability. So, with regards to developing the business, can I ask? This is such a game-changing product. It has the potential to literally change people's lives, to cut down on energy, to provide was effectively almost a new form of transport. Do you have any kind of idols that you look up to, any business icons who you think, they did it, therefore I think I can do it, or that you've learned some lessons from, that you've read up on, that you've learned about? Who stands out in the crowd to you?
I've got quite a few. I love sort of the entrepreneurial journey. I love these people that have been through that real hard, tough and toughed it out. I mean, Dyson, I really admire. He had a really tough. People look at him now. One of the wealthiest guys in the UK, but it was far from an easy journey for him. Some of the sort of the newer age entrepreneurs, the Brian Chesneys of the world, and Airbnb, different, obviously not a product, but his sort of founder's journey, really interesting. I mean, nobody wanted. People thought he was crazy. Who's going to invite strangers to stay in their home? Who does that?
Yeah.
But so they've come through that. They've persevered and seen it through, and built really valuable journey and valuable businesses. For me, culture is really important. I want Magway to be the best, not just the best company, but the best place to work. And we've got a phenomenal team of people who are really pushing the boundaries. As I said, I started out saying I'm not an engineer. I can just, I can look at the finished product and see, that it does what previous solutions have done, but better. And this amazing software and algorithms and mathematics that I don't necessarily understand underneath the surface and making it work more efficiently. And I just see the enthusiasm, when we have our team days and we're coming through and everyone working together to achieve our goal.
So, one question about the business, about your approach to business, actually. If you had to choose between three things in a business, and those three things would be, one would be culture, two would be the entrepreneur's mindset, and three would be business strategy, which of those three would you put first in terms of importance?
Culture, strategy, and mindset. For me, culture wins every time.
Okay.
Culture is the hardest thing to replicate. Yeah, if you think about the moon landings, the amount of strategic thinking, the amount of capital, the amount of brain power that actually went into achieving that, getting a man on the moon or men on the moon in 1969, and the Russians weren't that far behind, and they were doing it, separately, but very, very different culture. I imagine the Americans had more fun along the way. I'm sure they had equal amounts of stress, but culture for me is the hardest thing to replicate. And interestingly, advice to Brian Chesney from Peter Thiel, who's another, again, his great book, sort of 0 to 1. To Brian Chesney, after he put, I think, he got 150 million into the business, Brian Chesney asked him for a piece of advice, and his piece of advice was, don't F up the culture, because that's what you need to keep your eye on. And it's very easy it's hard to maintain as you grow the business, as the number of people and the type of people come in. It's hard to maintain, and you can't take your eye off the ball.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It goes back to the Peter Drucker adage of culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think was his quite famous.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Brilliant. Okay, so have you got any plans that you'd like to share? Anything else about the business? I mean, obviously there are some amazing things that you're doing at the moment. Some things I'm sure you can't talk about, and it looks like the product is really heavily in development. So what would you like? What plans would you like to share with us?
The next inflection point for me, I look forward to not. I mean, I love showing people around the facility. I love it when I've got engineers in here, and the noise of work and spanners and hammers and the lights. The next, I just really look forward to showing some live footage from our initial system, breaking ground and getting it installed, and that's going to be a massive inflection point. So if I'm able to do that, that would be a major step for us. As I said, we were out in the Middle East at the end of last year, and we've got plans to go out again, over the next sort of the coming months. So that's exciting for me.
Okay.
We've been So that's the next 6 to 12 months for me.
Okay, so if people want to have a look at the system and they want to contact you, is it best just go to the website?
Yeah, come to the website. There's lots of ways to get in touch with us via LinkedIn, via the website. We're always happy to show people around.
Okay. I mean, we'll put a link to the website in the video description anyway for our viewers. But look, thanks so much for your time. It's absolutely fascinating speaking to someone who's building a company that's delivering not only a world-beating product, but a world-changing product. I think that's
Thank you.
I'll take my hat off to you. So really want to keep in contact, really want to see what's happening with Magway in the future, really want to see the developments, and really keen to keep an eye on a British company doing amazing things.
Thanks, Matt. And as I said, if you're ever in the neighbourhood, we're in Wembley. I can see the arches over there. So you're very welcome to let me let me know, drop me a line and pop a line.
That'd be brilliant.
We got a big delegation, big overseas delegation coming through tomorrow.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'll take you up on that offer. Thank you so much, Phill. Keep in contact.
Take care. Nice talking. Cheers, Matt.
Thanks. Bye.